afternoon, class. Okay, may I request everybody to please stand. Okay, Daisy Lombardo, please lead a prayer. Amen. Once again, good afternoon, class. Okay. Let's check your attendance. Say boom boom if I call your name. Okay? Alright. Bueno. Bartolome. Arisgado. Okay, very good. No one is absent. So I have here a classroom management to be followed during our discussion or during our class. First is be respectful. No transferring of seats only if necessary. No seat chatting. Only use gadget when allowed and participate. Okay, submit your assignments in front. Okay. I have here a activity. Find me. We're going to find and circle the hidden words in the puzzle grid, which may be placed horizontally, vertically, diagonally, or backward. Refer your answer in the box. So here is the puzzle grid. Okay, I will give you 5 minutes to finish your work. Okay, are you done? Alright, what words did you find in the puzzle grid? Or what words did you encircle in the puzzle grid? Alright, stanza, very good. What else? Rhythm, very good. What else? Tradition, okay, very good. So let's have another activity. So the activity is, I will give you, or I will group you into 3 groups. Here's the group 1, group 2, and group 3. So you're going to read and observe their poem carefully. Observe its structure, rhyme, rhythm, figurative language, and imagery. Explain how these elements contribute to the poem's meaning. Here's the poem, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. So I will give you 10 minutes to finish your work. Are you done? Okay. What did you discover about the poem after analyzing with your group? Yes, Bilangege? Okay, very good. How do the literary elements in the poem work together to create its meaning and mood? Yes, Bueno? Okay, very good. What do you think will be our topic for today? Yes, our topic for today is literary elements, genres, and tradition. But before that, let's read the learning objectives. Our learning objectives, please everybody read. Okay, we're going to identify and explain literary elements, genres, tradition, and within the various texts. Demonstrate understanding of the text through the integration of group tasks. Create a personal poem applying the use of specific elements. So, literary elements refers to the overall or universal quality or description of any written or oral text. So we have 6 literary elements of poem. First, stanza. Stanza are series of lines grouped together and separated by an empty line from the other stanzas. They are equivalent of paragraph in an essay. Example, couplet 2 lines, tercet 3 lines, quatrain 4 lines, cinquain 5 lines, sextet 6 lines, septet 7 lines, and octave 8 lines. Next is rhyme. Rhyme is the repetition of similar sounds. In poetry, the most common kind of rhyme is the end rhyme, which occurs at the end of the 2 or more lines. It is usually identified with lowercase letters, and new letters is used to identify each new and sound. Example, I saw a fairy in the wood. He was dressed all in green. He drew his sword while I just stood and realized I'd been seen. The third one is rhythm. Rhythm creates the pleasant leading effect. When we read a poem, it helps readers to travel along the lines of the poem with a certain enjoyable tempo created by components of rhythm. Example, never in my lonely life could you make it be my wife. Or if only then she had seen the crime and anger were to have been. Next is word sounds. We have different types of word sounds. First, onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia words that sounds like that which they describe. Example, boom, crash, poo, quack, moo, cares. And the next one is repetition. The repetition of entire lines or phrases to emphasize key thematic ideas. Example, you are the way, the truth, and life. You will always be our way, truth, and life. Next is parallel structure, a form of repetition where the order of verbs and nouns is repeated. It may involve exact words, but it more importantly repeats sentence structures. Example, I came, I saw, I conquered. Next is alliteration, the repetition of initial sounds on the same line or stanza. Example, big, bad, boob, bounce, bravely. Next is assonance, the repetition of vowel sounds anywhere in the middle or end of a line or stanza. Example, tidling at windmills. Next is consonants, the repetition of consonant sounds anywhere in the middle or end of a line or stanza. Example, and all the air a solemn stillness holds. Next is figurative connotative devices. So, simile is the rhetorical terms used to designate the most elementary forms in resemblances. Most similes are introduced by like or as. These comparisons are usually between dissimilar situations or objects that have something in common. Example, my love is like a red rose. Next is metaphor, leaves out like or, as, and implies a direct comparison between object or situation. Example, all flesh is grass. Next is personification occurs when you treat abstractions or imitate objects as human, that is, giving them human attributes, powers, or feelings. Example, nature wept, or the wind whispered many truths to me. Next is imagery. Okay, imagery is the name given to the elements in a poem that sparks of the sentence. Despite image being synonyms for pictures, images not be only visual, any of the five senses. So the five senses is sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell can respond to what a poem's write. Okay, the next is literary genres. Literary genres, a category of literary composition. Genres may be determined by literary techniques, tone, content, or even length. So, we have 5 literary genres of poem. First is epic poem. It's a long narrative poem that is usually heroic deeds and events that are significant to the culture of the poet. So, many ancient writers use epic poetry to tell tales or intense adventures and heroic feats. So, a long narrative poem that tells a story of heroic deeds and important events, so often rooted in the culture or history of the poet's society. Next is narrative poem. So, narrative poetry is a form of poetry that tells a story, often making use of the voices of a narrator and characters as well. The entire story is usually written in metered verse. Narrative poems do not have to follow rhythmic patterns. Next is romantic poem. Is a poetry that emphasizes intuition over reasons and the pastoral over the urban, often eschewing consciously poetic language in an effort to use more colloquial language. So, the romantic poem, a poem that emphasizes emotion, nature, and individualism, often using simpler, more direct language compared to the classical poetry. Next is dramatic poetry. So it is any drama that is written in verse that is meant to be recited. It is usually tells a story or refers to a situation. This would include closet drama, dramatic monologues, and rhyme verse. Next is lyric poem. It has a musical rhythm and their topics often explore romantic feelings or other strong emotion. The next is literary tradition. It is the passing down of a story which gave meaning to human experiences. Every linguistic group has a literary tradition, which is transmitted either orally or through writing. So these are the shared stories, values, and experiences passed down through generation in a particular culture, either orally or in writing, creating a sense of identity and continuity. Okay, let's have a activity to know if you are listening to my discussion. All right. Create a poem. So, create a personal poem observing the use of literary elements. So, criteria, use literary elements, 15 points, creativity, 5 points, grammar and clarity, 10 points, relevant of the topic, 10 points, total of 40 points. I will give you 20 minutes to finish your work. Okay, are you done? Okay, pass your paper in front and I will check it later. Okay? So, what makes literary elements essential in creating an effective and impactful text? Yes, Fajardo? Okay, very good. So, how does literary elements help us in understanding the text? So, yes, it is the literary elements help us in understanding the text because it is important to use literary elements in writing or creating a poem. Next is why it is important to be mindful of how we use words to express our thoughts and feelings. Yes, Bilangige? You're raising your hand? Okay, it is very important to be mindful of how we use words to express our thoughts and feelings. It is important to know or to be mindful of how we use words to express and thoughts and feelings. Okay, let's check if you're listening talaga. On one half sheet of paper, copy and answer. So, copy and answer the following question. Read each question carefully before choosing your words, your answer, and circle the letter of the correct answer. 10 minutes to finish your quiz. Are you done? Okay, let's check your quiz. Alright. Okay, for your assignment, in a short bond paper, define the following literary concept in your own words. Literary elements, literary genres, and literary tradition. So, the questions, clarifications. Okay, none so far. Very good. Okay, class, that's all for today. Goodbye, class. Okay, thank you and God bless.